So obviously, executive cabinet meeting. We've got some members here in the Lancastrian room, in the council buildings, and some people at home. And it's also being streamed in committee room 1 if members of the public want to see what's going on. Obviously, I'm Alistair Bradley. I'm leader of the council and I'm chair of this committee. And Councillor Peter Wilson is the vice chair. As we just said, this meeting is being recorded and will be video streamed on YouTube after the meeting. Obviously, I think members now know the protocols around these meetings, online meetings. Raise your hand if you want to say something if you can, and people will be hopefully helping me spot who's got their hands up. Also, please take your hand down when you have spoken. Try and refer to the paragraph in the report that you are asking a question about, if you would, and also mute your microphones when you're not speaking so that you don't interfere with others. And if anything goes wrong with the IT and people start to drop off the call, I will suspend the meeting pending getting people back on. Okay. Just before we start, then I'd like to run through the executive members to make sure that A, they can hear me, and B, I can hear them. So in no particular order, Councillor Peter Wilson.
Good evening.
Yeah, that's one. Councillor Beverly Murray.
Yes.
Councillor Graham Dunn.
Hello.
Thank you, Graham, for being positive. Councillor Alistair Morwood.
Good evening.
A fellow releasee from lockdown. And Councillor Adrian Law.
Evening.
Good, great, that's brilliant. Okay, any apologies for absence, Nina?
No, we've not had any apologies, Chair.
Okay, that's excellent. And then the first item of business then is the minutes of the meeting of the 15th of October. Does anybody want to raise any issues with that, or to propose or second those as a true and correct record? Don't all shout at once.
Happy to second.
I proposed them. Councillor Wilson seconded them. Anybody, executive members only, anybody against accepting those? No, excellent. That makes life simpler. Item 2 is any declarations of interest that anybody's got in any particular items. Anybody need to declare anything? No. Item 3, public questions. Have we any public questions?
No, no public questions have been received, Chair.
Thank you very much. So we move straight on to item 4, which is the Q2 performance report for 2020-21. Councillor Wilson.
Thanks, Chair. As members will see from the report, the overall performance this quarter has been very good. Not just in terms of the fact that we've got 85% of our key projects rated as green, we did the 50% rated as amber, but also the fact that the delivery measures is good as well as the corporate strategy measures. So I think that's worth noting, Chair, because of the quarter that we're in. So it's, that's decent performance on its own 2 feet, but given that we've been in the middle of the COVID pandemic and all the knock-on effects that that's had that members are aware of, I think the fact that we've been managed to keep these key projects largely on track is a very, very good thing, and it's to be commended to all our officers who have had to work through difficult circumstances. The couple of areas, if I may, Chair, a couple of measures and that's are perhaps slightly off track, I'll just mention briefly. The one is the digital skills. It does say in there the reports as to the problems that we've had. Obviously, again, during the COVID period, it's not been able to have those sessions that we normally have out in the communities in terms of the training, and therefore that's obviously had an impact. But as it does say in the action required, we're looking to get that improvement coming through now. Obviously, again, we're in the full lockdown scenario, but hopefully, as we release from that, we will seek to pick it back up. In terms of the housing delivery, that is below target. Again, there are a number of measures there. This is something that I'm keen that and I know that members are keen to make sure that we get back on track. And I think 2 key elements there. The first is the fact that we are becoming a registered provider ourselves, which members will recall went through, I think, the last cabinet meeting. That will make a difference when we see sites coming forward. And then the second thing is that we're again looking to seek out land again where we can get the, as it says there, with the planning applications. Hopefully that'll see us increase our numbers, and that will improve as we go through the year. The town centre, the improvements to the town centre, I think members will appreciate that our focus has been on supporting businesses again during this period, but those plans for the town centre, the elements we've seen on things like Chapel Street or in and around the public realm, all those still remain very much part of our plan, and hopefully again we'll be able to pick back up. And the employment rate, Chair, which I think again in the times that we've been experiencing, albeit slightly below target, I still think is a decent number. And again, with the work that we're doing, hopefully the key thing now is to protect as many jobs as we can in the borough, and hopefully again get through this challenging period. I don't think I need to say any more on that at this stage, Chair, but obviously happy to take questions.
Thank you, Peter. First of all, is there any questions or comments from cabinet members? Can't see any, so I'll run on to Councillor Danny G. Danny.
Thanks, Chair. I was on the wrong screen. Yes, page, when I get to it, page 93. Excuse me, town centre vacancy. I see that's down as red. I think we're underestimating ourselves on that one, because I think we're doing very, very good in the town centre with the shops. A lot of them are beyond our control, and with the COVID, I think it's a thing that we shouldn't worry too much about. When you look at other towns, I think Chorley have done an excellent job on this, and it's down to how the cabinet have managed the town centre over the last couple of years. So I don't think that's anything to worry about. Thank you.
Unmute, Chair.
Sorry, Alistair. Yes, thank you for that. I can't see any other hands up or any other questions on that report. And obviously, just to echo the comments around the town centre, obviously there are issues, and members will be aware that obviously we are currently, not just in the town centre, but across the entire borough, receiving lots of inquiries for additional grant funding from businesses affected by COVID, in whether it's relating to the tier 2 restrictions, tier 3 restrictions, or the full lockdown that we've recently gone into. So as I've said previously, and I will continue to say, if you are aware of businesses who are being affected, who want help, or think they are entitled to help from the council and from the government, put them in touch with our officers in the economic team through Mark Lester's department, and also with Asim and his people who are working on getting the grants out, because we have started sending money out this week to businesses, and obviously we're getting further clarity, albeit very slowly, from the government as to what they expect to do. It would be good if they'd made it simple based on experiences last time, but it would appear, like many things to do with COVID, the government is has not learned from previous lessons, and is repeating the problems of last time. But we will endeavour to get through it in a Chorley fashion. Councillor Murray, did you put your hand up around that point, or is it something else?
It's sort of relevant, and I just wondered. I know that my understanding is the local councils administer the grants for people to stay at home if they're self-isolating, and I just wondered if it's possible to send a note round to members to say how people do that and what the eligibility is, in case we get any inquiries as councillors.
Yeah, definitely. Kristen, it's looking at me nodding. I think there is a process, and I'm aware of it. And it is mentioned when you do your track and trace thing these days. If you are positive, they tell you. I can tell from personal experience.
As you would know,
they offer you the service. I didn't test it. I didn't drive it. I didn't see it in action. But yes, there is one, and I'll ask officers to brief that out to members so people are aware of what is out there for people to support them while they are isolating. Okay. On the basis of that, then Peter's made a proposal. Is somebody happy to second his report?
Yeah, I'll second it.
Okay. And we don't have to vote on it because it's just for noting. I think that's fine. Okay, we move on then to item 5, which is the update on the contract award for the Astley Hall conservation work, which again is Councillor Wilson to introduce.
Thank you, Chair. Members will be aware of the plans that we have discussed previously about Astley Hall, and this report seeks to, first of all, note progress on the work that's been undertaken and the timescale for the main project, as well as then delegate the powers to award the contracts to myself as exec member for resources, as well as ratify the approach that we took to the procurement process. So just to give members an update in terms of the timescale, excuse me, we are seeking to begin work in the next few weeks, effectively. In fact, some of the work has already started in terms of taking items out of the hall itself. But in terms of the actual renovation work, that's hopefully going to start soon. Main priority is the external work that we've discussed. That's a removal of the render on the building. And there are some images further down in the report, which are, like all artist impressions, look fantastic. But if you turn to page 35 on Appendix A, you can see the impression of the potential that we could get to in terms of the hall, because the render is in a very poor state of repair. It does need to be treated. It does need to be removed. The original part that we removed reveals the original brickwork underneath. I think to take it back to its original form would be something quite transformational, and then certainly enhance the visitor attraction element of the hall. Obviously, we do have to remove the render and see what's underneath and see what state of the brickwork is. Hopefully, that will allow us to clean and renovate the bricks that are there, and we'll see something like the image that's on Appendix A. In addition to the work on the external, isn't just about the render, it's also the windows. A number of the window frames are rotten and need replacing, so they will be replaced. And then we've got the work internally, which is to improve ultimately to improve the visitor experience when you're going around the hall. And we need to do a lot of work in strengthening the main staircase, because that's going to be well used. But the whole idea is to change the dynamics. So you won't enter the hall at the front as you do now. You'll enter it through effectively where the servants' quarters would have been, and you sort of go on a trail then of how the hall used to function as a family home, from where the people working there were based through to where the family resided. And I think it'll be a much better way of viewing the beauty of the hall, and the renovation work should enhance that as well. In addition to that, we've got the work going on at the shop, which is currently taking place in the farmhouse, and that will be there obviously as a shop to sell goods, as well as provide tourist information and other details about what's going on in Astley and in Chorley as a whole. So that should be that's going on now, and again there's some images there in the appendix as to what that'll look like. We've also got plans to include improvements to the park as well. So there's the issue of lights in the park, which you mentioned in paragraph 25, which obviously have to be very sympathetic to the local wildlife. But again, we think that's will be absolutely fine in terms of not disturbing the natural habitats in the park, but allowing the path to be lit, which will again benefit people in terms of using it in winter days such as we are now. So you can see there on paragraph 27, Chair, the timescales that have been put in place, and the idea is that we complete the work sort of end of July, August time 2021, and hopefully we can get that open maybe for some of our events that we hold later in the year. So I'm quite excited about the whole project, Chair, in terms of enhancing the hall and enhancing the park and improving the visitor attraction.
Thank you, Peter. And as we all know, there's not much that excites Councillor Wilson these days. But anyway,
apart from winning.
still to be completed, I think that. Okay. Any questions, comments from cabinet members?
Could you mute?
Councillor Morwood.
It's just to emphasise. Yes, I too am quite excited about the prospect, and I think honest, and I really look forward to the brickwork being really sound. But is there a sort of plan B if it all turns out that the majority of the brick is not sound, or vice versa? Would there be a halfway measure of new render, or is it going to be a case of if we can't do it all brick, it's all render? Or is that not?
If the brickwork obviously is in a poor state and won't be suitable to be exposed and left as per the design, as per the drawings, as it were, then yes, a re-rendering would be an option. But all these things else would have to be done very much in consultation with Historic England and the other groups that have been involved from the start, because everything has to be very much sympathetic to the Grade 1 listed building.
Sure.
And the work that you're doing in other parts of the, well, it's the same with the internal work rather, but obviously with the external, I think, how could I put it? I think it would probably be the name, it would be the order of what's being looked for as well in terms of its look. So perhaps some part brick, part render wouldn't quite work, but my honest answer to that is I don't know until we've had those consultations.
No. Yeah. It's just that if that's going to happen, then we're aware that it might take a little bit longer at the end of the day. Internally, I think we'll get there, but yeah, I mean those windows, I wish them luck. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Alistair. Adrian Law.
Thanks, Chair. In terms of, I welcome the update for the report, and particularly between paragraphs 22 to 26, the other improvements that are not necessarily associated with the work to the hall, but obviously are equally relevant in terms of the car parking improvements, and also looking forward to other developments as they come along, particularly with Aker's Lodge.
Yes, and very topical at the moment as well, Adrian. Peter.
No, I was just going to mention that obviously Aker's is topical and it does we do need a long-term solution. But I'd also just like to say, which I should have mentioned in the main body of the report, just a thanks to the friends who have worked very, very hard, both supporting us in the work we're doing in the hall and the park, as Adrian just mentioned. Residents are benefiting from, again, the work that they do in terms of enjoying the walks and so on. And without them, it wouldn't be half as good as it is. So we'll need their continued support during this work of this programme of works.
Okay, Graham Dunn.
Yes, hello. I want to first of all echo the strong support for what we're doing, and also observe that this goes in hand with the programme of activities that we do around the hall and park all year, and that we continue to collect the excellent feedback we get on all these activities from people both within Chorley and without. Perhaps we could send a copy of that to that Conservative MP from the Northwest and explain to him why we've decided to do this as opposed to rendering the changing rooms at Chorley Football Club. To be quite honest, I think there's a lot, but I do think, and this what I wanted to sort of finish with, is that I think there's a lot more we can do to develop this park. It's a fantastic resource, and we can continue to make it and enhance it as a real centre of life and activities in Chorley for families, for the older community, for everyone, really.
Okay, noted, Graham. Peter, yeah. I think it was Councillor
just agreed.
Jake Berry who made his comments around the ballet, wasn't it? So, yes. Danny G.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, I was down in Astley Park today, and there was, you wouldn't have thought there was a lockdown. It was so busy around there, and people do appreciate the park and the amenities we got there. And I just found out earlier on that rendering's been on for over 200 years, so it's tested the time of time. I'm sure the people that are going to take it off will know the business, and I'm sure that the outcome, the park will be it'll look lovely. The question I'm asking is, we had the we lost the lottery grant for this. We didn't get it, so we're having to pay for it ourselves. Will we still be putting a lottery grant in for other projects for Astley or the park or the hall? Or we're not giving up on trying to get extra money from the lottery, are we? I would like to think that we would try again for some of the things. Thanks.
Yeah. In terms of the work that's going on now, obviously we put two bids went into the lottery. I thought the second one particularly was excellent in it addressed all the issues that were picked up in the first one as to reasons why we weren't successful, and yet we still weren't successful. So we won't be going back to the work that's being done now, obviously, Danny, because that's been rejected. But there is the sort of phase, what was phase 3, which is probably now phase 2, which is works to the grounds and other works to the improvements to the pathways and so on, which in theory we could go back with. But again, you've got to try and meet the criteria that they set in terms of the heritage element. So it's not so much whether we're willing to or not, it's whether it fits in to their definitions of what qualifies and what won't. So if we can, we definitely will. We'll all seek to spend other people's money rather than our own. But if not, then we will carry on, because as we said, and as has just been articulated by a number of members, you know, the hall and the park's a very special place in Chorley, and it's valued by people, and it's something that we should rightly invest taxpayers' money back into.
Thank you, Peter.
Any other questions or comments on that report? No, I can't see any. So on that basis then, Peter's made the proposal that we adopt the recommendations in paragraphs 2, 3 and 4. Is somebody happy to second those, please?
Happy to second, Chair.
Right, and executive members only. Anybody against that? In which case I'll take it as everybody's in favour, and therefore those recommendations are put through. So thank you all very much for that debate and decision. We move on to item 6, which is Councillor Murray, and it's the Public Spaces Protection Order renewals item. Bev?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Just get on the right page. So public space protection orders aim to ensure that public spaces can be enjoyed free from antisocial behaviour. They last for 3 years, after which they have to be reviewed and consulted on. Council currently has 6 areas, and it has decided to extend the current orders and amend the one in the town centre to cover the Asda area. The report details that we've been out to consultation, and it's simply to recommend that the report to Cabinet support the extension and the amendment, and to recommend delegated power to amend the wording of the orders as appropriate.
Okay, thank you, Bev. Anybody got any questions or comments on that? Cabinet members first again. No? Other councillors, any questions or comments on that report from Councillor Murray? I can't see anybody who's got their hand up. In which case, and the recommendations are detailed in paragraphs 2 and 3, as detailed by Councillor Murray. Can I have somebody seconding that, please?
Seconded, Chair.
Okay, and again, Cabinet members, anybody wish to object or vote against that proposal, please say no. In which case, I will take that as being acceptance. So thank you for that, and that decision is now made. We therefore move on. Item 7, any urgent business. I am not aware of anything particularly. It's been a very quick meeting. I'm happy to indulge anybody else if they have any urgent business. Cabinet members only.
What?
That was the rider I put on it.
Urgent council business or personal problems as well, you know.
We haven't got time, Councillor Wilson. We've got full council next week, so you can bring them to the full council meeting and we'll all debate it. If not, then I will thank you all for your attendance at this meeting. I'd ask ICT to stop recording. and we'll close the meeting. So